Okay, good. I was looking to see where that button is.
Yeah, so uh, yeah, Mansur. So is it correct, the name? How
Yeah,
I
yeah. You said it right. You said it
so
better than most internationals, so that's good.
yeah. So thanks for being on with me, and let's start with you. Like, what is your background? Where you're born, where you came from, or where you're coming from? What you're doing now?
All right. Well, just like you said, my name is Mansoor, and I am from Israel. My background is I come from a Druze family that is originated from Syria and Lebanon in one side of the family, and Israel, Palestine, all the way back like 1,000 years maybe, as per the DNA test, from the area of the Middle East. I grew up in a Druze village. Most people don't know what Druze is.
Yeah,
It's
explain it.
it's a very, very small minority that came out of the Islam, out of the Shia movement. The Shia were more spiritual, so more uh, little factions came out of it, while the Sunni were more orthodox. So they kind of stayed relatively the same. The Druze was one of the factions that came out of the Shia, and then they started being persecuted by the Islam because they had a little bit different views about faith. They were more accepting towards all religions. They basically it's an old, ancient, 1,000 years old New Age religion. They came and said Christianity is right, Judaism is right, Hinduism is right. We believe in reincarnation. Everyone is right. Everyone is like part of a puzzle, speaking about the same divine. So when the Druze had to flee for their life, they moved to the area of Lebanon, Israel, and Syria, a little bit Jordan, living in the mountains. And when the Jews came to Israel, and they were also having issues with the radical Muslims there that wanted to annihilate them, kick them out of the land. So the Druze and the Jews end up coming together and saying, my enemy's enemy is my friend. Let's stick together and protect each other. And they started this covenant that until today, the Druze in Israel are, you would say, the only minority group that is an Arab minority group that have all the rights and obligations. We pay all the taxes, we serve in the army, we do civil service in the country, etc., just like anyone else. And we enjoy also all the privileges, while there are other groups that enjoy only the privileges but don't have necessarily the
Mhm.
obligations, like Arab Christians or Arab Muslims, and etc. I grew up in that background, and then as a teenager, I remember I used to be a pacifist, and I used to tell my mom, I don't want to go to an army. I don't want to I don't like wars. I don't want to ever be faced in a situation where I need to harm or maybe kill someone. But then when you grew up a little bit in Israel, you realize that pacifism is a beautiful idea. It's a fun game that you can play in Switzerland or in Norway. But in the Middle East, if you really want to preserve democracy and your values and your family, you're doing that because there is brave men and women that are going there and risking their life to secure these borders from people that want to take away this way of living, this Western way of living. So in that point, I said, okay, you know what? I'm gonna give it my best, and I'm gonna try to do the best that I can in my mandatory military service. And I became an officer. I was in the special forces. I was a negotiator for a while, and I take pride of the beautiful things that I was involved in, because it was mostly saving lives. It was hostage rescue, and it was protecting, doesn't matter if it's Jewish, Arab, Muslim, Christian, protecting all humans that are, kind of living in Israel and sometimes even outside of Israel. I did that until I got fed up. After one time, not fed up, I just said there's more to life. But I became a negotiator, so I studied psychology and I studied the history of religion, Islam, Christianity, Judaism, and I wanted to know better about the culture in the Middle East. I also hiked all of Israel with a Bible in one hand and a book of history on the other hand, the Christian and the Jewish Bible. And I was reading and taking notes where everything happened. It took me a month and a half, walked through the land, read everything. Later, I did the same in Jordan. Um, And after my university studies, I kind of said, I want to go and see the rest of the world. There's a little bit more to the world than just the Middle Eastern conflict and living in Israel, because it can really consume you and you only think about it. And I went and started working as the head of security for Royal Caribbeans. And I was cruising the world, traveling, enjoying my life, getting paid for it. What is that?
Sounds good.
Yeah. The first time that I came to this place called Labadi, it's like an island peninsula in Haiti. And I got a coconut in one hand, and I was sitting on a hammock, and I was seeing all these beautiful people go into the water and out and enjoying zip lines or I don't know what. And I said, wow, this is nicer than chasing Ahmed and Mustafa in the desert. You know, this is I find that I can do this. And I think I'm gonna stick here. So I started traveling the world and working in that company. I got to be all over, you know, from Asia to Europe to North America, South America, Alaska, and it was beautiful. And then I had my kid born, and he's half German, so I moved to Germany. And to my surprise, I really fell in love with Germany because, you know, I had the stigma.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Everybody has a stigma, but a lot of the stigmas that I have were completely, you know, kind of demolished immediately, and I really enjoyed the life here and the culture. And on October 1st, kind of, I decided I want to take a new path in life, and my dream was to make movies. I always loved cinema. I loved movies. I love storytelling, and I wanted to make film, and I wanted to make also a YouTube vlog kind of and podcasting. And I said, I'm going to challenge myself to, while at work, while the ship was sailing from Alaska to Hawaii, I'm going to make one YouTube a day and still maintain my work, film it, edit it, write the script, upload it, do the thumbnails and everything. And if I see that I can do that, I will prove to myself that I can manage the life of cinematography and directing while being a parent, you know, so that I'll be able to do this multitasking. And I started doing one video a day. And then I came off the ship in Hawaii and I was flying to Texas and I landed and I went to sleep and I woke up in October 7th.
Oh, shit.
Happened. I started getting pictures on my phone of all the hideous, you know, beheadings and death and just, you know, because there were videos all over Telegram and I don't know what. And it was just shocking. And I remember sitting there in one hand getting shocked, on the other hand getting very, very angry that this is happening to my people, that this is happening to my friends, the Jews, the Arabs in Israel, because, you know, there was not only Jews that were killed there, there were also Muslims and Christians. And I called my unit and I said, guys, do you need me? And they said, it's too late now. We're already inside rescuing lives right now in one of the kibbutzim. If you come, we won't really have a place to kind of fit you through it. So you're just going to have to wait. And then I sat there and I said, what can I do, you know? And I said, you know what? I'm an Arab. I'm an Israeli Arab. And I can already see how anti-Semitism is going to spike now. People are going to start saying all kinds of lies about Israel. And I'm going to try to counter it as an Israeli Arab who have been there, lived there, and seen it with his own eyes. So I started making videos explaining about the situation and mostly trying to answer a lot of the propaganda, I would say, and just false accusation that Israel is an apartheid, that Israel is evil to Arabs, that Israel is not a democracy, and et cetera, et cetera. And I did 70 videos in 70 days. Wow. I was making one video a day. I was editing it all day, filming it, taking the kid to the kita, coming back, and just mixing it with my life. And I managed. And that's how I got, I would say, a lot of the publicity that I managed to get now, or the exposure in social media, was through that. And that's when I realized that my voice is being very, very important, especially for the Jews who felt that they were left alone, who felt that they woke up into a world that instead of coming and saying, guys, we're with you, we're sorry for what happened, many of them woke up to a world where people are saying, no, it didn't happen. You guys are lying. October 7th didn't happen. There were no rapes. And the Jews were felt really alone. So I felt for that community, it was very, very good to see a non-Jew stand with them. And speaking of the Holocaust, one of the things that actually made me, because I knew that I'm gonna be right now exposing myself to a world that I was trying to get away from. I came from that world of military and politics and I don't know what, and I was trying to go to the world of cinema, storytelling, and just a different world of art. And then I said, Mansor, if you start making these videos now, you're gonna be categorized as this pro-Zionist, person, and maybe that will, either bring you a lot of hate and cancel you and make you not get jobs. So I don't know what. But in that moment, I remember asking myself, when I was a kid, I watched Schindler List, and I watched other Holocaust movies. And I think, like me and many others, we were looking at it and telling ourselves, if we were there during the time of Nazi Germany, I would either fought the Nazis, stood up to them, or try to hide the Jews. That's what most people like to think. But then when reality comes, and I said, my voice can actually help the Jews now and show the truth about it, but I know I'm going to get a lot of hate. And I said, no, I'm not going to answer my kid one day. He's going to tell me what happened when this happened, when anti-Semitism exploded again in the world. What did you do? And I would say, no, I stood silent, or I kind of decided that it's not fitting with my career. And I says, no, F that. I'm going to speak out and I'm going to tell the truth as I know it. And if I get hate, I will get hate. And I only thought about the hate and the threats that I will get. I got quite a lot. But to my surprise, I got so much support.
So after you posted the videos, that is what so a lot of, I can imagine, Muslims, like, lost their shit on you, basically, right? So
lost their shit. Lost their shit.
And but in Germany, you feel threatened also from them, that they try to track you down or whatever, and or actually attack you physically, or is it more like just people making commentaries under the video?
Well, first of all, I would say in Germany, I feel the safest in Europe. And I've been quite a lot. I've been to France, I've been to England, I've been other places. I felt way less safe. And I feel because the Germans, hopefully from the lesson learned from the past, and that's what I think, have put very clear rules. Freedom of speech is out there. You can demonstrate, but the moment that you say a hate speech, the moment that you say stuff like from the river to the sea, or by all means necessary, we'll stop this demonstration. When the moment you're calling to hurt anyone, we'll stop it. So in Germany, I feel like the government and the people kind of came and said, whoa, guys, calm down. It's okay to demonstrate, but don't call for racist stuff like another the Jews. However, I'm still much more cautious because I try to not advertise, where I live and stuff that I do. And I even had, that broke my heart, but I understood them. I had German friends who came to me and told me, maybe try to speak to your kid not in Hebrew when you're in public. And they didn't say that from a bad place. These were good German friends that actually cared for me. But they came and said, you know what? People now hearing Hebrew and etc., your kid calls you Abba, which is father in Hebrew. And that broke my heart. And it says, wow, Europe, wake up. You're going back.
I mean, that is the thing what I saw. Look at Neukölln with all the mostly Lebanese on the street yelling death to all Jews. There were like thousands on the street. I don't know if they got really chopped. So when you say it's safe, I mean, I agree. It's not like you get chased through the street here, right? So, but I mean, I don't have the feeling that it's very safe for Jews, or for like sympathizers of them, if they would picture you as this, in some regions in Germany or some parts of towns. And I feel also in a way, you live here, I think they want to make, for example, the AfD a Nazi party, even if they are, in a way, the most defenders of the Jews in the whole conflict, and they're not, wait a sec, not really anti-Semitic. In my opinion, they are anti-Islamistic, but they're not anti-Semitic. So how is your stand to all of this?
So my stand to this, I'll even rephrase a little bit, what we said back. I don't feel that you can be pro-Israel or a Jew and be safe in Europe right now, period.
In general, yeah. Okay.
In general, some places more, some places less. Like, France or maybe England, way worse, or Belgium, Germany, way less, but still, period. Because there's political correctness here that prevents people from calling things out by their name. There's a lot of back-minded, fanatic religious people that lives in Germany. I speak Arabic. I hear sometimes the thing they say, and I'm just, if only the Germans knew, what these guys are saying. I helped a family of mine to flee from Syria, and they came into Germany. It's a husband and a wife that were either going to get killed by ISIS, by the Brotherhood, or by the government. And they got here as real asylum seekers. And he told me he went through the whole way, through Turkey, through Greece, through this. And I told him, when you come to Germany, you go immediately with the papers. You come to the next police station. You tell them, hello, I'm an illegal immigrant, asylum seeker. I want to hand myself in. I came illegally to the country. I'm asking your help. I told him, these are the words that you say.
Yeah.
He got to Germany. He went to the first police station. He said that, and they're like, sorry, they kicked him out. And then he went to another police station, and then they gave him money to go to another city to hand himself over there. And after that, he called me and said, listen, man, so I'm being an idiot. All the other immigrants just freely walk in. I'm the only one trying to hand myself in. They don't want. And he also told me that on the way to Germany, to Europe, he was the only Syrian. He said, I was the only Syrian on the boat. They were all Afghanis, Iraqis. A lot of them were people he called with very, very dark thoughts in their head. They burned their passport. They basically said, if you say one word that we're not Syrians, we're going to kill you. And then when he was in Germany in the refugee camps, he came and he told me that he had to flee the refugee camp because several times they tried to force him to go to this demonstration demanding, Sharia law and all kind of rights. And he told these guys, I ran away from Sharia law because it destroyed my life and my family. I came here to Germany because I want to live in their way of life, which obviously worked better. And they pulled a knife at him, put it on his neck, put him on the wall. He said, if you don't come to the next demonstration. So then him and his wife left the refugee camp in Germany.
Yeah.
And went to live in a city. And now they completely integrated. They know the language. They got a job. They got the citizenship. They work. They completely go with their friends to the bars, to the parties. They did what actually you would expect real immigrants seeking for help to come and do. We run from there, that's shit over there. We're coming here, thank you guys for welcome. We're going to respect your culture and we're going to adapt. And you respect ours. So I know that Europe is full of very, very dark-minded radical Muslims.
Yes. Yeah.
And the problem is when I come and I tell it to my German friends, a lot of times they either shun me away, call me radical. And says, guys, listen to someone who actually knows. I know what's coming. I know what's coming your way. I know what they're planning. They will call you radical. They will call you all kind of, silly names. So to your question, to my surprise as well, I found there was a threat at the hummus place in my city. It's a Jewish hummus place, October 13th. Yeah. He went down to close his business because he was afraid. And you know who was down there? He saw people with flags and he was, oh no, what's happening? These were football fans from some kind of football club in Germany. People that usually are more affiliated with the right wing, and less the left wing. They were not like hipsters with purple hairs. And they came and said, no, don't close your place. We will protect you. We will not let anyone harm the Jews again in Germany. And if any of these Muslim radicals will come, we're gonna show them. And that made me a little bit have hope. I said, wow, they've learned from the history and there's people. And that also, I think, bust a little bubble to a lot of my friends that thought that the right, or you'd say, what they like to categorize it, the more traditional people, oh, they're racist. And the left were very liberal. But the reality came and showed that a lot of time were the radical left that came and sided with the radical Muslims, which blows my mind because they represent completely different group. One represent everything about human rights, women's rights, LGBT rights. The other one represent everything against these rights. And they somehow always tend to team up.
But why? Why you think is that? Like, how could they get in a way so brainwashed that they think if you let very hardcore Islamistic people in, that they will all build a happy rainbow society. I mean, it's kind of, as you just stated, right? It's the opposite of what they want as a state.
It's the complete opposite.
Yeah, but why basically then the left or the, you know, even the climate change activists and everybody gets so cheated? Is it really like misinformation and they're getting brainwashed on TikTok or whatever? Is it the real strategy behind what makes that happen, or what you think? What is it?
So I just like you're saying, that's something that was in my mind, and I said I cannot really put this together. One group will definitely kill the other group. You know, the radical Muslims will definitely kill the queer for Palestine, the LGBT, the radicals. They will not have all these women that are going there and, you know, kind of chanting and leading protests. They would not be allowed to speak if they were in Gaza.
Yeah.
They'll be shut up, put a hijab, go and breed me many children, make me food when I demand, have sex, give me sex when I demand. And if you say one word, I can kill you. That's like literally how a lot of, you know, Muslim countries today living. Man can have several women, he can beat them up, it's fine. How are you standing for these misogynists, for these homophobes, and etc.? And I think on the street level it's just virtue signaling. People want to feel like they're fighting for something good, and people and the pro-Palestine, I would say, or the Muslim Brotherhood or the radical Muslims, they became very good at making themselves look the victim while they're not the victim. So a lot of these people come and want to say, you know, we want to stand for the victim, and they always say the government is the oppressor. So that's one thing. But when I was in England now, I went to London to experience and see what does it mean, you know, the rise of anti-Semitism there. And I met two Iranian people living in London that fled from Iran. And I asked them that question. No, he actually came and told me, because we went to this demonstration, he says, look at this is insane. This is the far left and the far radical Muslims, and they come together just like they did in Iran. And I looked at him and I said, what do you mean? He says, you see, they're using each other. They come and the radical Muslims need the far left to make them look good, to make them look like the victim, to stand for them, to make everybody shut their mouth. Oh, you say something, you're an Islamophobe, cancel him, he's an Islamophobe, he said that he's afraid of the Muslims. Well, a lot of the Muslims came and said they want to blow up buses and, you know, do a Sharia law. You have a good reason to be afraid. But anyway, so the Muslims benefit, the radical Muslims, I would not say all the Muslims, the radical Muslims benefit from these radical left because they help soothe and bring them into the society, the West, because they don't know how to fit in it. And the radical left benefits from them because they get their votes, they get to be perceived as the one who are helping the oppressed because they paint a picture of the oppressed. And that's what the Iranian guy said, not me. And he came in and said, and the moment that they get to power, one group will kill the other. They cannot be in power together because they're too different. So they use each other to destroy democracy or the country they're in, get in power, one group will kill the other. That's what happened in Iran. The moment they got there, the religious guys kicked out the communists and then the socialists, and then they went and started fighting them from Iraq and etc. And I looked at him and I said, wow, man, I really hope you're wrong. And he says, I hope so too, but I'm seeing the same signs that I've seen in Iran before it fell, and I'm seeing it here in Europe.
In France, especially too, right? So it's like way further as in Germany. So, but what you think, like your prediction, or first another question, like a good friend of mine is Ismaili, right? So, and when you say the Druze and the Israelis, so how you feel to be still a Muslim in a way? You know, when I would say 80% of the countries, not the per population. I mean, I think there are way more, let's say, easygoing Muslims as state, but when you see the individual states who are Muslimic, they are mostly radical. They are mostly like anti-capitalism, anti-freedom, you know. So how you feel there? Would you not say, I dump my heritage and go away from that religion, or have no religion? or what brings the religion to you personally? I'm an atheist, right? I grown up as a Protestant. I had the confirmation, whatever. But I came for me to the conclusion, I just don't believe in God. I don't believe in it. I believe in a lot of things there are in the Bible and so on. And you know, like, I mean, it's nothing against a lot of lessons from the Quran, from the Bible. But overall, I just don't believe that there's anything what controls us, what can or interferes with what's here going on or something. So how you see all of this?
Well, I think, if I'll answer bluntly, Islam in its current state is incompatible with the West, and they cannot live inside of each other. That's it. One of them will disappear because Islam have a clear goal to actually take over the world. It's in the Quran. They call it futuh even. I don't know if you heard that. Futuh is to open. They don't say conquer the world. They say the world is in darkness, and it's called Dar al-Harb, the house of war, and we are Dar al-Islam, the house of Islam. And the house of war is in darkness, and our fatwa, our jihad should go and to open them into the light of Islam. So that's like the call that they have. And here is the problem. Like you said, you know, there's many peaceful Muslims, and there's many who just want to live life, but their voice don't count because they're not allowed to freely speak. You're an atheist living in a semi-Christian modern culture. No one is going to come to your house and threaten to behead you in the street because you say, I don't believe in God. No one is going to go and maybe humiliate you and whip you in the street like you see in Muslim countries because your wife is not wearing a hijab or I don't know what. In the Muslim world, they can't speak. They cannot condemn. They cannot challenge the establishments. What they can do is they can challenge the West. And that's what you see. Hundreds of thousands of Muslim kids are being murdered by Muslim regimes. No one speaks a word. I don't know if you remember, during the time of the immigration, there was this picture of this little child that was washed to the shores of Greece or Turkey.
Kid, like who was dead, full dressed, dead on the beach, right?
Yeah. Yes. Terrible image, you know, breaks the heart of every man and a parent. However, watch this. There were tens of thousands, not hundreds of thousands of children like this dead in Syria, in Yemen, by ISIS in Iraq. Single, silent, not a single word from the Muslim community. One of them in the shores of Europe, and now the condemning can be against Europe. They all raged and went with megaphones. Why? Because they have a purpose of taking down Europe. Same thing in Israel. Israel is defending itself now. 30,000 dead. Most of them, many of them, I would say, you know, a significant amount of them are terrorists. The whole world is raging. Syria, Iraq, what they did to their own people in Yemen, silent. And that is the problem with Islam. Until Islam doesn't learn to fix its own shit, it's incompatible to go with the West, you know, and they need to. I love the effects in the background.
Yeah, I know. I don't do that.
I guess Zoom logged what I said. It's just fireworks in the background.
Automatic. You have it on automatic, whatever effects.
So, yeah, but until Islam doesn't fix its own internal affairs, it's not going to be compatible with the West. And I know a lot of my European friends don't like hearing me saying that, but I tell them, if you don't listen now, you're going to watch how Europe is going to be becoming an unsafe place. Every morning when I go to buy a Brötchen in the morning for my family, you know, I love, in general, Germans don't have the greatest food in the world. They have okay food compared to like cultures like Italy or I don't know what, Middle East, but Germans have very good breakfast. That's one thing that I've learned, you know, German breakfast is hard to compete against. The fresh bread and the variety of spreads. But every time I go to the street to buy from the bakery, and I'm going and I see this mother on a bike with her few children, I see this like lesbian girl walking past me, I see these few gay guys there, and I say, this is a beautiful, colorful neighborhood. And I think, do they understand that this will not remain like this? Their Sundays won't be anymore their Sundays. Their freedom to walk in the street won't, if they don't take it very seriously. The Muslim immigration coming to Europe is too open, too free, and it's bringing too many radicals. And you won't hear that you're hearing that from Muslims that are telling Europe, guys, wake up. Yeah. People from Saudi Arabia, people from Iran, people from Jordan telling guys, wake up. but they don't.
Yeah, and that is, let's say, the biggest threat for democracy if it continues on this level, right? So there's nothing against migration. There is also nothing against like war refugees. I think they need shelter. But if it gets completely off the charts and everybody just thinks they can come into the social like security system, and what I also don't see is that what I said when the Gaza situation escalated and you had everyday demonstrations, you know, from the river to the sea was on every flag. Like I don't see
by all means necessary.
Yes, and you saw the Berlin Film Festival and stuff like this, that people are not questioning what that means, right? I mean, if you're 15 years old and you sing From the River to the Sea, that sounds like a very nice, positive Green Party slogan, you know?
Yeah.
But I mean, as adults sitting there, including the German Minister of Culture, Claudia Roth, applauding somebody who stands there and says this is kind of insane, you know? So when we go into the actual situation of Gaza, so I felt, so first you have everybody in Germany, like Baerbock, everybody says we're all Israelis, right? But as experienced, I mean, as you are or me, we saw it coming, that exactly what you saw coming, like when now the repercussion comes and trying to find the hostages, that the subject will completely move away from the massacre. And it goes to see the Israelis, as usual, they totally overreacting and killing way more people as the Hamas or whoever killed in the terror attacks, because that is the old story, right?
Yeah.
But always forget who starts it. So, and then furthermore, like how would you now finish that conflict, or how you think it will go? And then what could be a solution there? Like, because you will not like omit the countries around Israel. They will be always there, right? So, but what would you do, or how you think it will all play out in the next few years?
I think if Israel doesn't eradicate Hamas, and if Israel, with the help of the moderate, let's call it Muslim government around, would not uproot the Muslim Brotherhood ideology, this conflict will never end. Because, and here's something that a lot of Europeans don't sometimes understand. Why do you think that none of the Muslim governments around Gaza accepted to take refugees? Not because they hate the Gazans, you know. It's not because they don't feel for their pain, because they've done it in the past and they know how it will bring down their government. They almost lost their governments. To what? To the Muslim Brotherhood. So they say Gaza have become a harbor of radicalization, of terrorism. They're teaching children from the age of 2 to want to murder Jews. They're teaching children from the age of 4, 5, 6, the best thing in their life to be is not an astronaut, not a professor at university, not a doctor, is to become a shaheed, a martyr. And these kids go with that. That's why you also have a lot of kid terrorists that are going there for stabbing and et cetera, et cetera. So the countries in Egypt, Jordan, Lebanon, they said, we've allowed them come to our country before, and they brought this radical Muslim Brotherhood ideology, and it almost took away our country because this ideology is very contagious. And Europe need to understand as well that Israel is fighting to rescue its hostages, and it's fighting to take down Hamas, which is an ISIS-like organization that kidnapped all of Gaza and is using this whole country plus a humanitarian aid budget that they're sending them to wage a war against the West, against Israel. So for this war to end, Israel must bring back the hostages, must destroy Hamas. Now, any casualty that is happening on the way is not on Israel. I strongly believe in that. It's just, Zoom is going again. Any casualty is not on Israel. You see, if Hamas was not hiding behind civilians, if Hamas was not forcing you to stay in the building and shooting an RPG, I was an officer in the army, and people don't understand. They say, why aren't you going special forces into the tunnel and rescue them? Guys, it doesn't work that way. Hamas had 16 years and a 1 billion to 2 billion budget a year of humanitarian aid to build tunnels, build traps, put cameras everywhere, radicalize an entire nation. And now they're hiding among civilizations, now among their civilians. Now, if you have a unit, let's say your soldier are walking in the street now, and suddenly, and they see kids in the windows, they see kids in the street, and they don't shoot at them. You know, these are civilians.
Yeah.
But they're looking for the terrorists. They're looking for the hostages. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, an ambush. They start shooting at them from everywhere. These soldiers, they run, they take cover, they start shooting back, and then they come and call for help. It says, guys were pinned down, we're being ambushed. Because they've entered a civilian neighborhood and they didn't kill all the civilians because they were humanitarian, and now they're stuck in that place. So now the IDF have to rescue them. You're not going to tell them, oh, sorry, guys, we're going to let you die. So now airplanes going to shoot rockets, very precise rockets, and you're going to have civilians killed. But why are these civilians killed? First of all, because they're in a war zone. Second of all, because someone is shooting and using them as human shields. And who's to blame? Because the soldiers could have killed these civilians when they went to that neighborhood. They didn't. But now they're being shot at and they're trying to fight back. And to wage a humanitarian warfare against a bunch of cowardice terrorists like Hamas or hiding behind civilians, you're going to have a lot of casualties. And the world is getting upset and they want us to stop. But if we stop now, we're just ensuring that there's going to be another October 7th. We're just ensuring that the state of Gaza is never going to get better. Actually, it just got worse. Because see, if Hamas goes out now victorious out of their tunnels, they will spin the narrative and they will make it again look like Israel is the bad guys. And then they will have more poverty to take terrorists from, more broken families to threaten them and make them, enslave them to dig their tunnels or I don't know what for a little bit money and a little bit pay. You have to eradicate Hamas. And if you don't go all the way to take them down, you're not going to solve that problem. And the West,
they will terrorize the population there again, basically.
Yeah, of course.
But what do you think when they're going all the way through, and will they be able to get them all, or there will be already radicalized new terrorists now, basically growing, because they see the aggression, what's going on, and the question is, what do you think? Is it 80-20, that 80% there are really pro-Hamas? Or is it the other way around and they feel oppressed, that they actually would break free and don't want to be there? That is the thing, hard for us as Germans or as Western people to understand, right? If I have a situation like this in Gaza and my whole life is shit, basically only because there's a terror organization hiding in tunnels, I would also try to get rid of them, to gain a normal life. But what is your experience? Is it there like this, or are they actually totally fanatics and parents are happy to let her kids die?
Yes.
Whatever.
My experience is because Hamas was not taken down 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, they have managed to radicalize an entire nation with the help of UNRWA and other educational system that you do have, I don't know the exact number, but 80-20 supporting Hamas. They elected Hamas, they support Hamas. They went and celebrated in the streets and gave candies and baklawas when naked Jewish women, some of them were German, even women, were being dragged in the street and young kids went and spat at them and chanted Allahu Akbar. And you didn't see Gazans come and saying haram. Because that would be the right thing in Islam, to come and say haram, this haram, whoa. Guys, we don't do that. That's disrespectful to the body, to the dead, to the woman. You didn't see that. You saw more kids running and celebrating and chanting for hate, for death. So that is the society in Gaza, I'm sorry to say. Now, I do believe that there is pockets of people that were able to resist this generational radicalization and will want Hamas to be taken out of power. Now, but they're a minority and they're barely afraid to speak. But now when Israel is taking down Hamas, you start seeing more and more springs of them going on and speaking freely. Take Hamas, take them away, they destroy their life. You're starting to see. Many of them, I don't know how genuine they are. They just really want the war to end, but they probably still support this radical ideology. Let's put cards on the table. The situation there is radicalized. It literally became a city of terrorists, if you look at it, or terrorist supporters. You didn't see a single voice coming and saying, oh, what you've done, this is not okay. If Israel or Germany would have gone and do something like that, you'll have protests in the street going on. What are you doing? Stop it. You have already now. And they're just defending themselves. So imagine if they will go to that extent. Not a single voice was heard there. Now, regarding can you take that away? The ideology of Nazi Germany was broken and taken away, but it took a lot of force and power to, I would call, to humiliate that ideology, to break it down to its knees and to eradicate. The same thing with Imperial Japan and others. People don't understand in Europe the culture of the Arabs. I'm an Arab. I understand it. I'm sorry to say, maybe you do, maybe some more or less they don't understand. It's a culture that admire power, and that is a very aggressive culture in its core Arabic behavior, I would say. And I'll give you the best example. Let's say me and you now are having an argument over a house, and you're stronger than me, and the argument is getting heated, and you can come and I say some words that are really nasty to your wife, or I threaten you. You're stronger than me, and I threaten you, and you come and say, I can beat the crap out of this guy, but I choose not to. So I come and I meet with him and say, listen, man, I don't want to fight. Let's negotiate. Let's find a middle ground that is good for you, good for me, so we don't need to resort to violence. Everybody around you will be clapping their hands and saying, wow, this guy, he showed real strength. He showed real power, negotiation, composed. In the Arab world, that is considered as a sign of weakness. If I'm stronger than you, I will take what you have and I will make you, humiliate you, whatever what, if you try to come to me. If I'm not stronger than you, then I'll come and I'll try to negotiate. The only way that I'll try to negotiate if you're stronger than me and I'm afraid. So it's a sign of weakness. So when the West comes and says, let's negotiate with them, they say, oh, that's a sign of weakness. It's working for us. So it's sad to say, but there's no solution. You need to go as strong as possible. You need to destroy the ideology of Hamas. You need to humiliate that ideology of Hamas. And only when it's been humiliated among themselves and became a joke in the Muslim world street, look at these idiots, what they've done to themselves, you know, going around with a few bicycles and a parachute, thinking they can take a nuclear country with airplanes and submarines and I don't know what. Look at the devastation they brought to themselves. When they come to that point where Hamas, I'm not saying the Palestinians are humiliated. I'm saying when Hamas has been crushed and humiliated to that point that it becomes a joke among its own people, then you destroy it. Then you kill that ideology. But if you don't, then you'll back off, and then one idiot with broken teeth and all scarred will go and say V to the sky and grab a kafia, and they'll say, oh, from the river to the sea, and they say we won. And you're back to ground zero again. You have to go and you have to finish them. Just like you had to go and you had to finish the Nazi Germany ideology. And the West made a very good job of doing that, you know, and with a terrible price, but they came and they destroyed it. They humiliated, and then they came and said, we're going to watch you now. We're going to let you rebuild this country, but we're going to put restrictions to make sure you're not going to start a third world war. And you look at today, Germany and Japan are one of the most successful, most beautiful countries in the world, which have become, you know, a heaven for coexistence in comparison to others, a heaven for people with ideas like art and religion, from being the most radical places in the world. But it had to go through a huge, I would say, even sad to say, aggressive transformation that brought it. And I think Hamas need to go through that.
I know, but you have to see the culture in Japan and Germany before the Nazi time was already very rich and deep, and it was kind of crazy that it went this way in a way in both countries, and that had to do with racism and this kind of insane race theory, what Hitler basically had, you know, and what the Japanese had against the Chinese in a way. And we don't have really this kind of past in Gaza, right? So when so only like, I mean, we're almost at the end of our video, but what you think, so Israel goes through it, then a lot of Hamas people are dead. Then at one point, they will basically have a big fence around Gaza, and it's kind of a camp of the population, because you cannot, as you said, the other countries, Egypt and so on, they don't really have interest to let hundreds, thousands of people in. So there will still, in the end, maybe 1.2, 1.3, 1.4 million people sitting there. And I mean, there is also no real future for them. what you think about this two-state thing, what they're all coming up with, Joe Biden and so on. I think it's unrealistic. I think also it will get only the point of, okay, now we carved something out of Israel. Let's try to get it all. It's my personal opinion about it. But how you see that with the two-state proposal?
I think with the current situation of the radicalized Nazi-like ideology that the Palestinians and the Gazans have, from their school system all the way to the government of the street, you cannot have a two-state solution. You're just going to be building a country of terrorism. You're just going to be creating another failed Muslim country, among many others, that is not going to be good to its citizens and to its neighbors. I think the moment that they will fix their own internal problems and will bring them back to the league, I would say, of the Western democracy, at least, with our values, then you can actually have a good neighbor that can have a country there, and he's going to become the next Singapore. But now it's just going to become a next Gaza. If you give them a state, it's just going to become a next Gaza. It's not going to be good for women living there. It's not going to be good for gay people. Absolutely not. It's not going to be good for artists. It's not going to be good for the citizen, for the economy. They're not going to benefit anything from that. It's just going to be another religious radicalized government. Because, and you can see it in the street. Go in the street there and say a word against the government or against religion and see what happens. And as long as you cannot do that, you're not going to have a good country there. You're going to have another radical, fanatic country. So I think it's a terrible idea, sadly to say. It's just not going to work.
But what is if they keep killing more? Let's say it this way. What will the Hezbollah do? And the Iran, you think Iran stays in line because of the nuclear threat they have against them, or the US? I'm not sure if Trump gets elected, if he will do any protection anymore for Israel or stuff, right? I mean, he was protective of Israel, but with Trump, you never know.
He's a wild card, yeah. He's a wild card, although, he was a wild card before, but when he was, the world was at much more stability financially and politically. Was not a single war fought, and actually there were peace agreement. And that, I think, is not credited just to Trump for who he is. I think that's credited for America when America is strong. When America is perceived as strong and, that will take action against wickedness, the world stand at bay. The bad guys, okay. I'm not going to do anything because this guy's a lunatic. If I'll go, you saw what happened. I'm not. But when America is perceived as weak, and that usually happens when the Democrats in America are in power, then all the lunatics in the world just go celebrating. Russia attack Ukraine, ISIS goes and invade everything, the whole immigration into Europe, and Obama calls it the Arab Spring while Egypt is about to be collapsed, and ISIS in October 7th. It's always happening in these spikes. So the Western world need to understand that they need to be strong if they want to protect themselves. And we need to realize, that's my opinion. Let the radical Muslims go and live in their own country. Let them do their own crazy stuff. If they want to come to your country, they need to respect your rules, your way of life. And you cannot just say we open borders for everyone, because that's irresponsible toward your own people. That's going to be very irresponsible toward your children in 20 years from now who will live in a different dangerous Europe that is not colorful or freedom. So it's a clash of civilizations. They're not fitted with our civilization. And I'm saying that someone who comes from there. I came to the West. I adapted Western values. I love Western values. I love the fact that I can freely express my religion. My sisters, they can choose to be religious. They can choose to be complete secular. I love that. My mom is not feared to go in the street with a hijab or without. She actually has, because she's religious. But she's not afraid to go and speak out. And that's Western culture. And if you don't like that, then get out of here.
And you think the way Europe is dealing with the situation since years now, your prediction is, will Europe be taken over in the end, or will Europe win and is maybe doing some drastical measures against mass Islamic?
I think if Europe does not take drastic measures, and I don't know if they got the gut for it, Europe is going to be taken. I think Europe is going to be an unsafe place in 25 years, 50 years for sure. And it's going to be just another radicalized religious Muslim state. And the Muslims say that. They say, and that's a saying that is actually commonly said in mosques. They say, Islam have tried to take Europe by the power of the sword, and we have failed several times. But now we'll take them by the power of the womb. We will go there and we'll bring a lot of children and we will take them. And they're clearly saying that. You don't need to quote me. You can go and check in the internet. There's many sources where they say that. And they're doing it. For every German kid that you have 5, Muslim radical Sharia law believing kids that are growing. And they're going to go to the kindergarten. They're going to go to the school. They're going to finish university. They're going to have the same right to vote. And then what happens?
Yes.
And if Europe doesn't take extreme actions to protect itself, its values, they're going to lose it.
Yeah, that was a good, I think, summarizing the situation up. Thanks so much. And yeah, that was very good. And very happy for the talk. We stay in contact. And
definitely.
Yeah, I stopped the taping now. Wait 1 second. So, wait. Operation. Wait, don't leave now.
No, I'm not leaving. I'm enjoying this conversation too much. I'm not leaving. I want to hear more about you, but I know we're running out of time.
So wait here. I'm doing it here. We're still taping. Wait 1 second. Aufzeichnung.